Welcome back. Today we're diving into 8 incredible stories of World War II heroes. These aren't just tales of strategy and battles, but of raw courage, impossible odds, and ordinary men and women pushed into extraordinary situations. From daring escapes to unbelievable acts of bravery, these stories remind us why the human spirit is so hard to break. So, let's journey through the lives of 8 remarkable people who stood tall when the world needed them most. It was February 9th, 1944, off the coast of Nice in southern France. 4 Spitfires from the 52nd Fighter Group circled above, hunting targets. In one of them sat a young pilot, Robert Anderson Hoover. Hoover made his attack run, dropping his bombs, but the release went wide. He didn't have time to dwell on the miss because his engine suddenly sputtered. His aircraft was failing. Before he could react, 4 German FW-190s pounced from above. Calling desperately for help, Hoover turned his crippled Spitfire directly toward them. Bullets flew as he twisted and rolled, buying precious seconds until his wingmen arrived. A chaotic dogfight erupted, but the newer German fighters had the advantage. One shell tore through Hoover's wing root, and in an instant, the Spitfire ripped apart. Hoover bailed out, parachuting into the Mediterranean. He was captured, interrogated, beaten, and threatened with execution, but he gave nothing but his name, rank, and number. For 14 long months he was shuffled through prison camps until finally arriving at Stalag Luft by April 1945. The war was crumbling for Germany. With Soviet artillery echoing in the distance, Hoover and 2 others hatched an escape. Using a wooden plank to cross the wire, they slipped out during a staged fight distraction. Free at last, they stumbled through villages until they discovered a nearly deserted German airfield. Among wrecked planes, Hoover found a working FW-190 with fuel still in its tanks. With a pistol keeping a lone mechanic at bay, he prepared the fighter. His companion refused to join, leaving Hoover to take off alone in a German aircraft painted with swastikas, flying directly over the front lines. Heart pounding, he navigated by coastline and sun until spotting Dutch windmills. Risking a crash, he belly landed in a field, only to be confronted by angry Dutch civilians who mistook him for German. British troops soon arrived, and Hoover's incredible gamble paid off. He survived the war, later becoming a legendary test and stunt pilot. Looking back, Hoover would admit with a laugh, "It was probably the dumbest thing I ever did." Okinawa, April 1945. Towering 400 feet high, the Meta Escarpment loomed, sheer rock, caves filled with Japanese defenders, and death for anyone climbing it. Among those ordered to storm it was Private Desmond Doss, a medic who refused to carry a weapon. Ridiculed at first for his refusal to kill, Doss had already proven himself in earlier battles. But nothing compared to Okinawa. On May 5th, chaos consumed the battlefield. Explosions tore through American lines, and as retreat was ordered, Doss stayed behind. Alone at the top, he began dragging wounded men to the cliff's edge, lowering them down one by one with ropes. Each time he whispered a prayer. "Lord, help me save one more." For hours under fire, he repeated the ritual. By the end, he had rescued roughly 75 men. Weeks later, wounded by shrapnel and then a sniper's bullet, he even refused a stretcher so a more injured soldier could be carried instead. Using a rifle as a splint for his shattered arm, Doss barely survived. He would become the first conscientious objector awarded the Medal of Honor. President Truman told him, "I'm proud of you. I consider this a greater honor than being president." Desmond, Doss showed the world that one could be both a man of peace and a hero of war. June 6, 1944, D-Day. The Greenhowards, a proud Yorkshire regiment, landed at Gold Beach. Among them was Sergeant Stanley Hollis, already a veteran of North Africa and Sicily, nicknamed the man they couldn't kill. When machine gun fire pinned down his comrades, Hollis didn't hesitate. Charging a German pillbox, he fired his Sten through the slit, then tossed in grenades. Smoke poured out, and he stormed in, subduing the dazed survivors. Moments later, he attacked a second position, capturing 20 Germans single-handedly. Later that day, spotting 2 men pinned in an orchard, Hollis dashed back under fire with a Bren gun, providing cover until they escaped. For his unmatched bravery on D-Day, Hollis received the Victoria Cross, the only soldier to do so that day. Asked later why he risked everything, he shrugged. "Because I was a Green Howard." Also on D-Day, Omaha Beach was a slaughterhouse. Amid the chaos, First Lieutenant Jimmy W. Monteith of the U.S. 1st Infantry led his men through with fearless determination. Bullets rained down as they pushed across mined sand and barbed wire. Monteith repeatedly exposed himself, guiding Sherman tanks forward under fire. With their support, his men broke through pillboxes and trenches, but soon they were surrounded. Refusing to surrender, Monteith led counterattacks with rifle grenades, personally knocking out machine gun nests. Finally, while dashing back across open ground, he was cut down. Monteith's actions opened a critical gap at Omaha, helping secure the beachhead. He was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor. His mother would receive the medal at home, keeping it beside his photograph, a reminder of a son who gave everything. April 13, 1945. Zwolle, Netherlands. Canadian soldier Leo Major and his friend volunteered to scout the city before an artillery bombardment. Tragedy struck when his comrade was killed, but Leo pressed on, alone. What followed was nothing short of unbelievable. Through the night, Major stormed a machine gun nest, fought German patrols, and even burst into an SS headquarters, killing 4 elite soldiers and scattering the rest. Capturing a young German soldier, he forced him to drive through the city while Leo hurled grenades and fired shots to create the illusion of a massive Allied attack. The deception worked. Many Germans fled the city without a fight. By dawn, Zwolle was liberated not by an army, but essentially by one furious Canadian. Leo Major refused medals from commanders he didn't respect. But history remembers him as the man who freed a city almost entirely by himself. Stalingrad, 1942. High above the burning city, a Yak-1 fighter with the number 32 on its side lined up a German bomber. The pilot squeezed the trigger. Flames erupted from the Junkers. Her name was Lydia Litviak. In a second duel, she outmaneuvered an ace German pilot, forcing him to bail out. When he later demanded to meet the Soviet who bested him, he was stunned to see a young woman. Lydia coolly rejected his gift of a gold watch, saying, "I don't take presents from my enemies." Nicknamed the White Lily of Stalingrad, Litviak quickly became a symbol of defiance. She racked up victories against the Luftwaffe, even while flying injured. Tragically, in 1943, she was shot down and disappeared. Decades later, her remains were believed found, but some insist she survived under a new identity. Whether lost in battle or hidden by fate, Lydia remains the first woman fighter ace in history, a legend whose story still captivates. November 10, 1944. Near Morville-le-Vicq, France, Sergeant Warren Creasy of the 761st Tank Battalion, the famed Black Panthers, faced not just German fire, but prejudice from his own army. When his tank was knocked out, Creasy grabbed a machine gun and charged enemy positions alone, wiping out gun crews. Later, when his replacement tank fell into a ditch under fire, he leapt out with his Thompson, hooked up a tow cable, and kept fighting as bullets flew. Even after losing 2 tanks in one day, Creasy refused to quit. When his best friend was killed, he transferred to his unit and fought with a vengeance. His comrades called him the Iron Man. Though nominated for the Medal of Honor, he received the Silver Star instead. But among the 761st, Warren Creasy was remembered as the man who never backed down, no matter how many tanks were shot out from under him. These 8 heroes, Hoover, Sarita, Doss, Hollis, Monteith, Major, Litviak, and Creasy, remind us that war is not only fought with weapons but with courage, wit, and unbreakable willpower. Their stories, though different, share one truth. When the world was at its darkest, ordinary people rose to become extraordinary. So tell us, which of these heroes' stories inspired you the most?